Hi guys, Ready to Play Movies here with a new video, and I'd just like to issue a little bit of an apology to folk. I know there's probably been some people out there that have been waiting for this video to drop for quite some time now, and it should have dropped about 2 or 3 weeks ago, to be honest with you, but I'm really sorry that it's taken this long to get out. Work has been horrendous. It really has started to pick up. I've been up and down the country more times than you could knock up a roast dinner, and now I've just come down with a sodding cold. the joys of living. So yeah, like I said, I'm really sorry that it's come. I'm really sorry that this video is so late. I'm gonna try. I have got some other videos in the pipeline. I've got quite a few titles beside me here that I'm gonna be showcased at some point down the line. I'll probably do a video. I'll probably record a video over my 2 days off that I get. We'll probably do a shopping video as well on those 2 days. I'm off on Tuesday and Wednesday this week, so I'll probably put another video out on Wednesday or something like that. Hopefully, anyway, with a little bit of luck, and hopefully I'm a lot better by then as well, guys. So again, I'm really sorry that this is so late. So this will probably be the prologue to the video, and I hope you'll enjoy. Thanks guys, and I appreciate your wait. Hello everyone, hope you're all doing well. John here with Ready Player Movies, and welcome back to a brand new video. So we are finally at the final episode of the Movies of a 40-Year-Old series, and it's been a lot of fun for me doing this video, doing this series, and I hope you guys have been enjoying it also. So for those people who are new to this video, who are new to me and the channel, welcome aboard. Thank you for staying on. If you've got this far, if you'd like to continue on with this, that's absolutely great. As you can see from all of this goodness behind me, I love my movies. Have done for a vast majority of my time. Here I'm talking about some of the movies that shaped my taste in movies over let's say the 36 years that I've been watching movies. So why don't we get on with this, guys, and make a start with our rundown. Okay guys, so before we get on with proceedings, I'd just like to remind everyone and tell the new viewers about the giveaway that has been going on throughout this series. I'm giving away a copy of the new Mortal Kombat movie. I would have given the results of this giveaway out at the end of this video, but unfortunately there hasn't really been any entries for it. So if you're interested in picking up in getting a free copy of this movie, all you need to do is, if you want, you can skip back to the first video. All of the details for that are in there. But if you just want to carry on watching this video, all you need to do is like the video, comment down below who your favourite Mortal Kombat and comment who your favourite Mortal Kombat character is in the Mortal Kombat universe. I'm not looking for any of the other franchise fighters that are in that compete in Mortal Kombat, like Freddy Krueger or Jason Voorhees or anyone like that. I just want Mortal Kombat characters only as your answers. So that's all you need to do to pick up a copy of this. I'll announce winners. I'll announce a winner in the next video, which will be a pickup, which will be a delivery video, hopefully, which will give you guys a little bit of time to put your answers in. I would like the answers to go into the video of the first part of this video if you can. That would be great, and then I'll do everything from there, and then I'll sort everything out from there. So yeah, like I say, if you want to copy this, all you got to do is like the video, go back to the first one, comment who your favourite character is out of Mortal Kombat, and there you go, your entries in. So anyway, without further ado, let's get into this list. So we are starting off with 2012. Now I do, and again, I'm going to explain the format of this for the new viewers. I have honourable mentions, and then I move on to my number one pick for that particular year. So my honourable mentions for 2012 are Django Unchained, the first Avengers movie, Avengers Assemble, or the Avengers for you guys in America, and Josh Trank's Chronicle. Now, Chronicle, I actually thought is a really interesting movie, considering the fact that it isn't exactly based on superheroes as such. It's just based on regular guys that get abilities from an entity that they discover out in the woods, and they use these abilities for however the place, as long as they're responsible with them. So it's not really a superhero. It's kind of a hybrid superhero movie. You'll have to excuse the noise that's going on outside. There's some roadworks happening right outside the place where I live, so you'll have to excuse that. There's nothing I can do about that, unfortunately. But yeah, with Chronicle, I thought it was a really interesting movie, and it was one of the earlier movies of Dane DeHaan, who turned up in The Amazing Spider-Man 2 and Valerian, which is also a very good movie as well. It does have its problems with it being very similar to The Fifth Element and all that kind of thing, but yeah, Chronicle I really enjoyed. And Django Unchained as well, another brilliant movie. I was very tied with these four movies for 2012, and I ended up picking End of Watch as my number one. Was stars Jake Gyllenhaal and the great Michael Pena. This movie really impacted me on quite a lot, really, because it was one of the first movies that I saw in that particular style of filmmaking, with it being more of like a, you could say, documentary style of film, you know, with these two officers out on patrol that get embroiled in a gang shootout, that kind of thing. But it's all of these events that really sort of happen in the film that really got me captivated. I've not really watched it recently. It's only been it's been a while since I've watched it, but I do have very fond memories of End of Watch, and it will probably it will probably get a watch at some point over the last couple, or in the next couple of days. Sorry, not the last couple of days. How can that happen? Yeah. So that is my pick for 2012. End of watch. Yeah, so moving on to 2013, and my honourable mentions go to Captain Phillips, American Hustle, and Now You See Me. Now, American Hustle, you might be thinking, wow, that's quite an interesting pick for my honourable mentions. But the top spot you will be quite surprised about. So the reason why I've got American Hustle in my honourable mentions is because even though I enjoyed this other film, which I will talk about, which I will give a quick thoughts on when I get to my top spot, you'll kind of, well, you won't understand, because this is my personal preference, really. But American Hustle, for me, even though it's also based on a true story as much as this other film, I had a little bit more fun. I had a little bit more fun with it, simply because of the way it was actually, because of its cast more than anything else, which consisted of Christian Bale, Jennifer. Oh no, it's gone. Oh no, not again. Oh, god damn it. Lawrence, the lovely Jennifer Lawrence, Amy Adams, Jeremy Renner, and Bradley Cooper. Sorry about that, guys. Sorry about that. I had to pull it out. It just literally, it was on the tip of my tongue, but it just wasn't coming out. Yeah. The cast in this film is absolutely fantastic, and the performances in it is also are absolutely top notch. I love Christian Bale, and I love Jennifer Lawrence and Amy Adams together. They're such a, the chemistry is so good. It really is so good. So you could kind of understand why I sort of enjoyed this more than this other film. So my top pick for 2013 goes to a little movie directed by Ron Howard, which is another true events movie, starring Daniel Brühl and Chris Hemsworth. Rush. Yeah, that little movie about Formula One. I think this movie is absolutely fantastic, and what great picks for the two lead roles to play Niki Lauda and the great James Hunt, the Formula One, the big Formula One drivers of the late 70s. Now, the story behind Rush is based on the rivalry between the two Formula One drivers, and all of the things that went on in their own personal lives, and how everything all enveloped into what happened, into the tragic accident that happened to Niki Lauda in I can't remember which race, can't remember which particular race it was, where he ended up basically being cooked in his own racing car due to a mechanical problem with the actual car, and he came out with horrible scarring on his face. But yeah, the film itself, it's brilliant. It's brilliantly told, and like I say, the casting is absolutely perfect. They couldn't have done a better job. Performances absolutely amazing. So Rush gets my top spot for 2013. Now moving on to 2014, my honourable picks for for 2014 go to The Monuments Men, the brilliant Whiplash with J.K. Simmons and Miles Teller, and The Imitation Game starring Benedict Cumberbatch, which leads my top spot going to probably one of the obvious choice for this year, the brilliant Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, let's just scratch the honourable mentions for this particular year just for a moment. Oh, I forgot to talk about that with the film in 2013. The Wolf of Wall Street was the movie that didn't get the honourable mentions. Yeah, it was The Wolf of Wall Street. Never made the list. Never made the list. It should have done, but unfortunately, the other three movies got there instead, unfortunately. So sorry about that, guys. If you feel disgruntled, feel free to talk about that in the comments down below. No problem at all. But anyway, yes, Guardians of the Galaxy is my #1 spot for 2014. Now, I know there was a lot of people that were sort of thinking, what is this? Marvel? What on earth is this comic? One of the lesser known comics from Marvel. You didn't really see an awful lot of these knocking about. I've got a couple from a convention that I went to. It tells like a specific story. I've not really gotten around to reading them though just yet, but it was one of those movies that everyone was thinking, what on earth is this, and what are Marvel actually doing? And to bring a director like James Gunn in was a bit of a massive risk, considering what he'd done beforehand. Now, I do like James Gunn. I do like James Gunn's movies, especially the written ones that he's done as well, like the Belko Experiment and all that kind of thing. And he also worked with Trauma with Lloyd Kaufman as well back in the 90s. So I'm pretty well clued up on James Gunn. So when I heard that he was going to be doing this film, I was thinking, what on earth is this going to turn out like? Because I'd never heard of the Guardians of the Galaxy myself. At the time. Afterwards was when I got those comics that I've just mentioned, but when I saw the final product, I was like, this is absolutely fantastic. I mean, it's probably one of the best Marvel movie that's come out. It had there was so much thought had gone into this movie, and the characters had great, even though they hadn't really been fully explained, the characters seemed to have a really good backstory to them, and it was just an absolute blast. The storytelling, like I say, is absolutely phenomenal. They did a great job. The visuals were absolutely outstanding. What they did with to bring Rocket Raccoon to life was just absolutely mind blowing. And like I say, the casting of Zoe Saldana, Chris Pratt, who was pretty much, I wouldn't say an unknown. He was known for Parks and Rec, but I'd never seen that before, so he was very new to me. Dave Bautista, loved him as a wrestler, but I thought another wrestler going into acting. I don't know. I wasn't sure about him, but when I watched that film, I thought, Jesus God, he's great. Suits that part so well. And of course, the voice acting talents of Bradley Cooper and Vin Diesel as well. Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. You couldn't have got better casting for the main stars. Wasn't so keen on Lee Pace as Ronan though. I mean, there's a lot of people that do actually share that same thought as me, but you know, you've got to take what you're given, really. So yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy was obviously going to be my choice for 2014. Well done, James. So moving on to 2015, and my honourable mentions go to Kingsman: The Secret Service, Ant-Man and Jurassic World. Jurassic World, for me, I thought it was a really good continuation on from the original trilogy, even though the third movie wasn't exactly as good as what it could have been. It had good source material, but it just unfortunately didn't really quite have that. It didn't quite have that directional quality that Steven Spielberg brought to the other two. But this continuation of the story with Jurassic World, it actually does really well to tell the more scientific side of the more scientific side of the story that we had in the first one, and to introducing BD Wong into more of a main role was a very, very good choice, because like I said, we get the more science side of things, which have continued on into Fallen Kingdom. But the casting of Jurassic World I thought was absolutely fantastic. Right down to Chris Pratt, the brilliant Bryce Dallas Howard, and Vincent D'Onofrio. What a casting that was! I loved him in his role. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. You wouldn't have expected him to play that kind of a character, but he just pulled it off so nicely with that little twinkle in his eye. It's just really, really good. It's just so well done, and he was probably the only person that could have done that. Consider what he's done in the past with playing Kingpin in the Daredevil series. Just brilliant. I loved it. Absolutely loved his character. But the overall presentation of the film as well, with the story with the Indominus Rex being a hybrid dinosaur. Well, it's not really a dinosaur. It's a monster, really. It's a monster in dinosaur form. Really interesting concepts coming in, which followed on into Fallen Kingdom as well. But it's a good job that they brushed over certain things with Fallen Kingdom, in that otherwise it wouldn't have been the movie it probably should have. Otherwise it wouldn't have been the movie that it currently is. But this continuation of the story works well, and I'm looking forward to see what Dominion brings, and I'm really looking forward to see what Dominion brings with the original cast members coming in to hopefully conclude this story. So yeah, Jurassic World finishes off my honourable mentions, which makes my #1 spot go to Ridley Scott's The Martian with Matt Damon. I had such a good time with this movie. I never got around to seeing this. I don't remember seeing this at the cinemas, but I did get to see it when it came to Blu-ray, and I absolutely loved it. It really is quite a marvel in cinematography. It's absolutely astonishing what they did with this film. It really is. It's got a really good blend of drama and comedy at the same time. Some of the things that Matt Damon has to do to survive on Mars as the only survivor of a massive sandstorm that almost kills the entire crew, which evidently leaves him stranded on the planet, who is not exactly dying, but who has been declared dead, that isn't, and is just trying to survive until someone comes to get him. If you're in that position, of just wanting to get home, and then realizing that your crew member is still alive on a planet that you've just been to, that you've just come from, and you're at that halfway point. It's that whole what would you do situation, and the way that everything was sort of intertwined with what NASA was doing, and the whole thing with the rest of the crew deciding on whether they want to do it or not, and all that kind of thing. It just leads to a really good conclusion to the film. Now, obviously, there are some things that that when you do watch it, you'll think, would that really happen? You know, that kind of thing. That there are some moments in the film where you would think, no, you wouldn't do that. That's a little bit over the top. But the science of the actual film is actually very well thought out, nonetheless. And it's just such a really good watch for the whole scenario of survival, and what would you do in a position that they're in. If you were in their position, what would you do? It just had a really big impact, sort of impact on the way that I thought about the way that I was doing things as well. You know, like the whole teamwork aspect of things. So yeah, The Martian, that's why The Martian got my #1 spot for 2015. Really good film, and like I say, very good cast, good performances all around. So yeah, 2016, my honourable mentions go to Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds, the zombie movie Train to Busan, and Captain America Civil War. Now, Train to Busan, now I've always said that I'm not much of a zombie movie person, but over the last couple of years, I've been slowly warming to them, and Train to Busan is the one that really got me into the genre. And ever since then, I've been wanting to watch more and more and more. I love this film. It's absolutely fantastic. Probably one of the best out of what I've seen of the Korean movies that we've had. It's probably one of the best Korean movies that we've had to date. It's just great. It's very simply written, with a really great idea of a guy who is trying to get his daughter to her mother. The fact that they're separated, and he's just trying to get her to her mother, and they get caught up in an outbreak where people are turning into zombies left, right and centre, and it's all happening on a train, and it's just a wild ride from start to finish. If you haven't seen Train to Busan, I really do recommend you check it out if you're a zombie fan and haven't seen it, which is highly unlikely if you haven't, and you are a zombie fan. It's an absolute ball, it really is. So my #1 pick for 2016 goes to the space travel movie Passengers, another Chris Pratt movie, yes, and another Jennifer Lawrence movie. Now this was a really interesting one, and for some people you might think it's a bit of an interesting pick, and yes, it is an interesting pick. The idea of of space traveling to another world to settle and colonize is a really interesting idea, and especially to me, because I love stuff like that. I really do. So having a film that is centered around this particular storyline had a bit of an impact on me, but I wasn't expecting it to go in the direction it did after the halfway mark, and that halfway mark is what really set things in motion for me. I thought, Jesus Christ, this is going to turn out to be absolutely bonkers, whatever was going to think, because it's a really dark twist. You see, I mean, when you saw that, when we got the trailer for it, we thought, oh, it's just about these two in space, but it is far from that. And my God, when you look at this from the trailer's perspective, and then you see what actually happens, you don't expect it to happen. You don't expect something like this to happen, but at some point down, I wouldn't say some point down the line, but it's the whole creepiness of it, which is what makes it this turn that happens. I mean, it's kind of difficult to explain, because because something happens. Something happens, and things go on, and you think, oh, there's nothing to it, until you realise how wrong the situation is, and it's just like, oh God Almighty, this is, but it's everything that sort of happens in that last third of the film. Involving the two main stars, and that's all who it is. It's just two people. Well, it's three people if you want to count Michael Sheen, that are in the film. But like I say, it's a brilliant movie, and I really enjoyed it, and that's why it gets my my choice for 2016. It's a great film about two people on a mission in space that goes awry in many different aspects. It's a real emotion. It's a proper emotion churner, this film. So that's basically why it's got my pick for 2016. Passengers, guys, if you haven't seen it, please check it out. Even if you're not a space movie person. 2017, my honourable mentions go to It Chapter 1, Wonder Woman, and Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle. Now, I've just had a quick switch. I've had to have a quick switch around, because I was tying between a couple of films in this, and I've just at the very last minute had to change things up a little. Bit. It Chapter 1 was a very close call between It Chapter 1 and my number one spot. I really liked this first installment to the reboot of the miniseries back in 1990 with Tim Curry, because I love the film. I love that film. Regardless of what people say about the second part, regardless of what people think about the second part to that film, I really liked it. I didn't like the ending to it. I thought it was really cheesy and a cheap way out of a really great ending that could have, and I was kind of hoping that they would do the same with It Chapter 2, but unfortunately they didn't, and it wasn't exactly the same, but it was just one of those things. But anyway, It Chapter 1, I think, is you could have this as a standalone standalone movie, and you could have just killed Pennywise off at the end of this one. But I thought this was really good. I mean, the dynamics I mean, there's not really an awful lot I can add to this, to be honest, because it's already been said. It's just such a great movie about the story of these kids that are up against to kill a clown. That's been alive for a lot of years and has been picking children off for every 25 or 27 years, whichever one it is. It plays off as more of a coming of age movie as opposed to the first part of the original one, where it was sort of primarily more about them realizing who Pennywise is, and that's what I really enjoyed about this one. It was more, Pennywise was a little bit more sidelined in this one to allow for the character development to come in, and for them to show that these kids are actually good, these kids that are just wanting to do their own thing and discover new things. Like I said, a coming of age movie, and then you throw our villain in sort of halfway through, and then let everything build up from there, and it worked so well, and it was good and I just like the fact that it was directed by a guy that understands that subgenre of horror, because it just blended so nicely. I mean, people can say what they want about Pennywise in this film. I thought he was really good. It did creep me out in some places. A lot of people complained that it was just a little too a lot of people complained that it was a little too cartoony. The CGI was a little bit too much. I actually thought it was really nicely balanced. I mean, but I will agree with a couple of people. I'm not gonna mention who they are, but if they're watching this and they've got this far through, they'll know the teeth. The CGI teeth, I didn't like it. I didn't like that at all. I thought it was stupid. They should have stuck with just like regular monster teeth, sharp teeth, whatever, you know, but just not so many. It looked dumb, and it just wasn't necessary. But anyway, likewise, guys, It Chapter 1 gets my number one. Is my honourable mention for 2017, which leads my number one spot going to Volume 2, Guardians of the Galaxy. Yes, you heard that right. Like I said, it was very, very tied between those two movies, and in all honesty, it could have been something else. It really could have. But the emotional weight in this film is what made this eventually be my number one for this particular slot. It's got so much. This film has got more heart than the original one. The original one was more about the adventure. This one has got the heart. Because it takes a more family orientated story to get through the film, because obviously for those people that have seen it, it's about Peter finding his father, or his father finding him, and taking him on a journey to figure out what his dad's meaning is. Now, given the fact that it does get a little over the top towards you once we find out what the actual deal is with his dad, it's that I actually think that was kind of a precursor to what we were going to get in the Suicide Squad, in terms of the new Suicide Squad that James Gunn has just directed. It was a bit of a precursor to what was going to happen in that movie. It does get over the top in terms of the story, but it doesn't come without the whole family dynamic between, and the whole relationships between everybody in this. They just come together absolutely beautifully. They really do. I mean, the one bit that does stick out in my mind, even though it's a little silly, it's the part of the film where they talk about the family thing with that involves David Hasselhoff in the forest when they get to that planet, where they're taking refuge from the Sovereign. I thought that little conversation between Gamora and Peter was actually really quite key to the whole thing. Was really quite key to the whole film, because when you think of the film as a family, when you think of the family dynamic of the film, with them finding each other and then finding out that, like, Peter's dad has actually come to get him to go back, and you sort of when you get to that particular scene and you hear it, and when you hear it actually come out, I saw that as seeing someone famous and thinking of them as, yeah, I wish that was my dad. I wish that was my dad. I didn't know my dad. So you look at someone, you look at a role model. You want to look for a role model, and that for me was probably one of the more pivotal points of the film, because that for me was one of the more pivotal points of the film, is not just being on the search, but looking for someone who can be that role model. And when Peter doesn't actually realise who it is until the end of the film, when he realises who his role model really is, that really hit me hard. That really did hit me hard, because that's what it's mostly about. I mean, I can't believe him. I can't believe it so much. Well, I'm just thinking about it, and to find that your role model has really been your real daddy, you know, the person that's really brought you up in life and taught you what's right from wrong, or wrong from right, whichever way around it is. It has that emotional weight to carry it through, and that's why I prefer Volume 2 over the original. The original one's just about the adventure. The second one has got a lot more to it, but it still manages to give you both at the same time. But the whole family dynamic of that outweighs the adventure, a little bit more. And I just thought it was really nice to see that. I just thought it was nice to see that play out through the course of the film, which is why I got my pick for 2017. basically. But again, everyone was brilliant. You know, everyone got the chance to shine, even more so in this one than the original. I thought Drax was absolutely fantastic. He probably had the best, the majority of the film, as and on his own, I thought he was absolutely hilarious, and even Rocket, I thought was really good as well. You know, when he was giving his pep talk to Yondu, 3/4 of the way through the film, you know. But yeah, it's a really, I thought it was a really great movie. Yeah, I didn't. A last minute change has done me a little bit of good. That last minute change has done me a little bit of good. So moving on to 2018, sees my honourable mentions go to Steve Carell's Welcome to Marwen, Bradley Cooper's A Star Is Born, and Infinity War. And A Star Is Born was a massive surprise to me. I mean, I never got to the cinemas to see it, but when I did pick up a copy of it on Blu-ray, I did actually sit down and got it watched, and I was absolutely overwhelmed with how good Lady Gaga is in this film. I mean, Jesus God. I mean, I love her as an artist. I think her music is amazing. I think what she's done for the industry is absolutely fantastic as well. But as an actor, she's going somewhere. She's going somewhere, definitely, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what she does in this new House of Gucci movie. I am really looking forward to watching that. So yeah, Star Is Born is I think it's the third remake of the original. Now, for those people who were thinking third remake, the last one that was done was in 1973 or 1974, and that had Chris Christopherson and was it Chris Christopherson? Chris Christopherson, and I think it was Bette Midler. I think, I'm not 100% on that. I could be completely wrong, but that's not the original. The original one is from 1930 something, and then it got another one done in the 50s, and then there was that one in the 70s, which is more commonly known, and now there's this one. Now, I haven't seen any of the older ones, but I was really taken aback by this. New version of it, simply because, like I said, Lady Gaga, I thought she was absolutely phenomenal, and like I say, she's going somewhere in the acting industry. But Bradley Cooper, I wasn't expecting much from this film because I don't really know much about Bradley Cooper as a director, but what a great job he did of this, and the fact that he actually had involvement in some of the songwriting as well, I thought that was absolutely fantastic. So good job, Bradley. I know you're probably not watching this, but what a great job you've done with that film, honestly, really. But yeah, it's an honourable mention, and I'm really pleased to have it there, which means my number one pick for 2018 goes to my inspiration to the channel. You know it, guys. Ready Player One. Yeah, Ready Player One for me was one of those pivotal moves, and I think it was and for me, Ready Player One is a movie that was needed for this generation, because when you look at what we've had in this decade, not just in movie, but not just in film, but in TV, like with the likes of Stranger Things, the film Class of 1984, that kind of thing. There's been a lot of throwbacks to the 80s. There's been a lot of throwback to the 80s now, and there's a lot of like nostalgia stuff, a lot of nostalgic stuff going on, all kinds of things. And I thought, when Ready Player One came out, I thought, this is perfect. This is exactly what we need. We need a movie based on retro stuff, and Ready Player One is that pivotal film. It's pivotal film. It's just got that really great balance of stuff that everyone likes, with a nice fresh story attached to it, with it being a video game, with it being a virtual video game, almost like a new version of Tron basically, but involving like all of the old games and all of the old classic stuff that we've had throughout the years thrown into one film. It's an absolute blast. It's an absolute blast, and I love the cast of it. With quite a few unknown names in there, which is a staple of Steven Spielberg's films. He likes casting people that he enjoys watching from other movies that are not big names. The only really big name in the film is Simon Pegg, really, that I can think of offhand, and even he actually does a really good job in it as well. I've always liked Simon Pegg. Actually, he's a very good actor and a very good writer as well, actually. So yes, Ready Player One gets my pick for 2018. 2019 was, oh my dear God, that was 2019 was a big year, a very, very big year. Now then, gonna try not to talk too much actually, because this video is going to be quite bringing long. My honourable mentions go to Alita Battle Angel, Parasite from Bong Joon-ho, and Joker. Now then, I've already reviewed Joker, guys, so I'm not really going to go into that. If you do want to have like a quick review of it, or watch any kind of review, I've got a review on it back in my catalogue. Go and check it out, and tell me what you think in the comments. But my number one pick for 2019 is an obvious choice. Avengers Endgame, the one that finished phase 3, and what finished 10 years of probably some of the greatest cinema that we've ever had, really. Absolute blast this film was. I mean, Infinity War was good, but I felt that they just put a little too much stuff in there for that time slot that they had. I think their 2.5 time slot was maybe a little bit too. I think if they were going to make Endgame a 3-hour film, they might as well have actually made Infinity War a 3-hour film as well. I mean, I might be, for the long-time viewers of the channel, and for the long-time viewers of the channel who have watched that video, who have watched that review, I'm kind of contradicting one of the things I actually said about that film, saying the 2.5 run time was about right. But when you think about what what they've done with Endgame, and you do that comparison with Infinity War, I think they could have got away with an extra half an hour for Infinity War, just to sort of like pace things out a little bit more, because I felt Endgame was a little bit more fleshed out than Infinity War was. I think they did a better job of establishing characterization and all that kind of thing. Even with all the battle scenes before the big one at the end of the film, I think they did a much better job with. With fleshing out the actual story in this one than they did with the original one. And I mean, I know a lot of people are gonna really hate me for saying that, but honestly, I honestly think that they could have done with making Infinity War half an hour longer, and they might as well have done. You know, I mean, I would have been okay with it, considering the fact that I've seen Endgame now being a 3-hour film. I would have been okay with Infinity War being 3 hours as well. But yeah, an absolute blast and a great closure. Very, very sad ending to the movie, but the right way to end. The right way to end the movie. Don't really want to give too much away about it, because I know there might be a couple of people out there that haven't really seen it, so who are coming into this video blind, not knowing what the crack is with the channel and all that kind of thing. But yeah, you can understand why Endgame's at my #1 spot for 2019, so I'm just going to leave it at that, guys. 2020, yeah, lockdown year. I didn't really see an awful lot, didn't watch an awful lot last year, to be honest. I really didn't. So you'll just have to bear with this one, guys. So my honourable mentions for this year go to Escape from Pretoria, Unhinged, and The Midnight Sky. Unhinged, I've got a review for that up on the channel, so if you want to go and check that review out, that'll be absolutely great. The Midnight Sky with George Clooney, I loved that. I loved The Midnight Sky. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. A really well told story with an ending that kind of didn't, I wouldn't say I didn't expect, because I'd worked out what was going on in it, because I'd kind of worked out what was going on. I watched this one with my mum, and my mum hadn't even worked it out until I had to tell her. You know, it's just like, how did you figure that out before me? Because my mum would have figured that out before I would have done. But with the way that ending was coming out, I knew what was going on. I knew what the crack was. But yeah, it's a really interesting film. So I mean, I have watched it, but I can't remember much about it. But it did have a really good. The way that the story was told, it really did have quite an effect on the way I thought about the film. You know, it was one of those. But my #1 pick for last year is another trip down memory lane for me, and will be for everybody else, for those people that played the game. And I've just given a massive giveaway there. Sonic the Hedgehog. Yes, they finally got that movie that we've kind of been waiting for. I thought Sonic could have gone horribly wrong, and it's really good that I can't remember which company it was that pulled the release date. They pulled the release date back. Can't remember who it was. It was just really good that they pulled it back to fix the problem at hand. But but I do have a review for the movie up on the channel, so if you want to go back and watch that, that'll be absolutely great. But I love this film. I thought it was everything that I wanted it to be, but it was really Jim Carrey that really lifted this film and did an absolutely amazing job at bringing Dr. Robotnik to life. Now they didn't exactly go with the they didn't go exactly to the origins of Sonic and Dr. Robotnik, but it's just nice to have them as the pivotal characters as they should be, obviously, because without Dr. Robotnik it isn't really a Sonic the Hedgehog movie. But they did really well. They did really well, and James Marsden, a really good comeback, a really nice little comeback for him into Hollywood. Did a really nice. He did really well to be the aid of Sonic, helping him out where he needs it, and yeah, just a really good all-round family film, one that you could put on in the afternoon to keep the kids entertained and to keep you entertained as well. You know, I mean, it has some, I wouldn't say really big adult themes in it, but there are certain things that adults will laugh at and that kind of thing. You know, it's just a nice, well-rounded family movie, which is what it should be, really, and that's why I really enjoyed the movie, and why it got my top spot for 2020. So, just give me 1 second, guys. I will be back in just a moment. I just need to quickly close a window. Can't see. Right, guys. Okay. 2021. I've got my list on the computer at the back of the camera. So my honourable mentions for 2021. Come on, guys, let's get this right. 2021. My honourable mentions for this year go to Zack Snyder's Justice League, Mortal Kombat, and the new Mortal Kombat, and obviously, and Black Widow. Now, Black Widow was one of the last ones that was one of the last movies that I saw at the cinemas. Excuse me. And I actually really enjoyed this film. I thought it was very good indeed. It did have some pacing issues, but other than that, Black Widow was a really good movie. Now, I thought that I had real reservations about this film. I thought it wasn't going to be as good as what I thought it was. To be honest with you guys, I think I'm done with Marvel now. I think I'm gonna give Shang-Chi and the Eternals a go and see how they pan out. But to be honest with you, I think the whole Marvel thing, I think it needs to come to a close. To be honest, I think they need to wait a little longer. They can't really carry on much longer to keep their ideas fresh. I don't know, but Black Widow, it was good. It did have, like I said, did have a couple of problems with pacing and that, but I think it's time for them to sort of like take a bit of a break from the movies and try and focus on the TV series more than what they have been. But yeah, I think it's starting to tell. You can really tell with Black Widow that that it's starting to sort of like go a little downhill, you could say. I think they're starting to sort of. I know there's a huge. I know there's a huge universe of characters there, but I think now the quality is starting to go down a little bit. So I think they could do with taking a bit of a break from making all the movies and that. But Black Widow was good for what it is. You know, it was the story of the origins of Natasha Romanoff. Really, not really an origin story, but like it giving us the background from where she came from. That's set in between. Civil War and Civil War and Infinity War, I think it was. I'm not quite sure if I'm right about that, but yeah, it was good. It was a good movie. It was a good movie, and I did enjoy it. There was some pretty good performances. There was a pretty good performance of Ray Winston in this film. Actually, I'm not really that overly keen on him. But he did do pretty well he did do pretty good in this film as the main villain. I thought he pulled it off quite nicely. Yeah. What more can I say? Not much really, because I don't really want to spoil it for everyone, for those people that haven't really seen it. But my number one spot goes to the obvious choice of 2021, and that is Godzilla versus Kong. It was always going to be my number one for this year. It was always going to be my number one for this year. The build up from the original movies from 2014 and onwards, you just saw this coming. You saw this coming. I kind of raved about Godzilla, Kong. I've been trying to work on a review on that. Godzilla King of the Monsters. I did a review for that. I think I did. Look, I'm not 100% on that now. I think I might be wrong. But anyway, Godzilla versus Kong. I had such a blast with this film. It's everything that the kaiju fans wanted it to be, and the color palettes, even though they are a little bit too much towards the end of the film, the blend. Everything sort of blended really nicely. You know, the color palette was a little bit extreme towards the end. You know, that sort of thing. But I like the fact that they didn't, that they made the film so that it didn't take itself too seriously, you know, and they did the right thing by not prioritizing the human characters too much. Otherwise it would have been a bit boring and not absolutely necessary and unnecessary for the film. Which means my number one spot of 2021 is a fairly obvious choice. Godzilla versus Kong, guys. Yeah, it gets my number one. It was always going to be there. I have absolutely raved about the other movies leading up to this one. I wouldn't say raved about them. The original 2014 Godzilla, it was a good movie, but it did have it. For me, it was a little boring. Kong Skull Island, I really liked. A lot of people were a little bit meh with it. I enjoyed it because Kong was my bag. Godzilla King of the Monsters was just a visual fest for a visual fest for the eyes, which was just, it was mind blowing. The quality of the visual effects in that film were absolutely marvelous, but you did get the problems with like uninteresting characters, which didn't really pass over to this one, which I thought was really good. They got the human characterization was just enough to carry the film, which I really liked. You got more Kong and you got more of Kong and Godzilla in this film, which was absolutely pivotal to the film. Adam Wingard, I thought, did a really good job of it, yeah, it was an absolute blast, because as much as I love the original movie from the early 70s, just yeah, it was just great. Oh, loved it. Godzilla vs Kong, my #1 spot for 2021. And guys, that is the end of it. That is the end of this journey into the movies of a 40-year-old. Thank you so much for tuning in. Now then, like I said about this Mortal Kombat giveaway, where is it at? Like I said about this Mortal Kombat giveaway, I'm not going to announce any winners just yet. I've got like I say, I've got a parcel down in the corner of the bed there, which I will unbox in a separate video. I hope you guys have had a really great time with this series. If anyone's got any questions, put them down in the comments. I will be happy to answer any of them. I'll be happy enough to answer any of them. You know, even if you guys are, even if any of you people out there have like major concerns about some of the stuff that I've picked, you know, I'm happy to talk about them. I really am. But this journey's been absolutely fantastic. I've loved putting this together. I really have. Whether or not if you guys have enjoyed it or not, that's entirely up to you. Feel free to dislike the video as well if you want. But yeah, this has been great. It's been absolutely fantastic. I've loved doing it, really have. And I hope I've given some people, and I hope that I've given some kind of influence to people that want to watch any of these movies that I've talked about in this series as well. So if you did like the video, give it some thumbs up, share it about, and comment down below if you want to. That's absolutely great. That'll be absolutely fantastic. Thank you again to everyone that has watched the series and this video. And yeah, like I say, for those for the new people that have come in. Thank you to those new people that have come into the video. Really do appreciate it. Appreciate all the old viewers that have come into watching this series as well. Thank you so much. Like I say, so appreciated, guys. And I think that'll just about do it. So, like I say, thank you once more. This is Ready Player Movies, signing off.